Have you ever wondered how much it would cost to buy an army just by using used models? Well, let's find out today. I'm the Everprince, and let's get started. So, if you're unfamiliar with my content, I'm the Everprince, but today I decided I want to do something different. Today I want to do a challenge for myself and for the Warhammer community in general. I want to ask myself, how much of an army could I build, and how much would it cost if I just used used models for it? So, for the purpose of this challenge, I decided to go to one of my all-time favorite websites, that being Fenris Workshop. I really love these guys. They're great. Their customer service is good. All their stuff that I get from them is great. The whole system they have is phenomenal. I love the rune system they have. Basically, how the rune system works is if you spend money here, you earn tokens, like little runes, which you can then spend to buy discounts on future purchases. It's really great. I love the system. It works out. But something else that I really love about Furnace Workshop in particular is the fact that because they sell used models as well as, stuff licensed from GW from Games Workshop, it means that they have this really fun system, not system, this really fun thing happens where when a new shipment of stuff comes in, for example, the most recent Space Wolves update, which comes with a bunch of pre-order stuff that comes in, they also get a new supply of used models. Typically, what they do is they'll update used models every day or every week. But something that's really fun is that because people tend to give out their old models when new or refreshed updates come in, that means that more than likely there's going to be some used Space Wolf models on this website. Now, while many people would prefer to get the new sculpts, new updated models, I personally don't care. If you guys don't care either, I think that's great because at the end of the day, they're just models, and sometimes they can get outdated, sometimes they're not. But in my opinion, as long as the model is the same, or as long as the model is consistent between editions and the base is the right size, and everything that's equipped to it is the same, then I don't care if the model is new or outdated or whatever it is. So we're gonna look at the Space Wolves used models, and we're gonna try and make a 500-point army. So basically, a combat patrol using just used models that we can get on this website. And if you guys want to buy any of these models, or buy the entire army basically that I made, then feel free to head to this website. I'll drop a link in the description if you guys want to take a look at it and maybe try it for yourself. Although, if you are not the first person to watch this video, there's a very good chance that more than half of these models have probably already been bought beforehand. And if they aren't, great. Now's your chance. Buy them while you have the chance, because given the fact that they'd be used models, there's a good chance that people would have bought them already, and time between the upload and release. But I also want to mention that because we're going to be doing this, we're going to give ourselves some challenges. So because we're going to be using 500 points, our goal is to get to 500 points or beyond. We're not going to do the GW's, we'll say, cop out. Everyone knows what it is. We're going to call it a cop out of not putting exactly 500 or as close to 500 as possible in the combat patrols. So we're actually going to aim for 500 or higher, nothing lower than that. And we're not even going to be including enhancements or anything like that. We are straight up going for 500. Additionally, we're going to compare the used models we bought, the amount of points that comes with it, and we're going to compare it to other ones in GW's list of things they're selling. So, for example, let's say we get, I don't know, what's a good combat patrol everyone loves? The Mechanicus, for example. So let's say we were to create a list of used models from Fenris Workshop. If the price is greater than a normal combat patrol and the amount of points in it are less than, for example, the Mechanicus combat patrol, which is awful, and I don't think does anyone like the box? Does anyone genuinely like the Mechanicus combat patrol box? I genuinely want to know. And that's a tangent for another day. But yeah, and we're going to basically be like, okay, how much points does it compare to everything else? And we're going to see if we can do better than GW. Though because we're going to be covering Space Marines for this episode, there's a pretty good chance that all we have to do is beat the standard Space Marine Combat Patrol box. If you don't know what that one is, it's a Terminator Captain, 5 Terminators, I think they're standard Terminators, and then 5 Infernus Marines. So literally 11 models. Now, I've defended the combat patrol in the past, and people have told me that it is awful and I shouldn't defend it, but I don't mind it. It's just that the models that come with it aren't that great. Luckily for us, though, we're not going to have that issue because we're picking our models ourselves. Additionally, I actually want to try and create some synergy with the models we're buying. So for example, if we're going to have a model, for example, the Space Wolves, they're a very aggressive army. They're very charged and advanced heavy army. So I want to try and prioritize models that have, chain swords, thunder hammers, aggressive melee weapons, specifically because their faction itself is themed around getting in close with aggressive melee combat. So let's get started. We're looking at this is all the pre-orders for Fenrir's Workshop, but we're not going to go for that. Instead, what we are aiming for is if you scroll to the top, there is actually a section on secondhand minis. And from there, all we're going to do is go to all 40K secondhand. From here, we're actually able to actually pick what we want and actually suggest and kind of limit our options. So there's already a lot of options we have here, but what we're exactly going to go for is Space Marines in general. And just like that, we've already limited our list down to just the Space Marines we need. Let me just adjust my window so it's easier for you guys all to see. There we go. I am a master at this. So already we're actually looking at some great benefits because what I can see here is, well, I picked Space Wolves. I shouldn't have picked Space Wolves. I should have picked just Space Marines. There we go. I mean, the fact that I seen 31 was actually pretty cool for products, but we're going to go for just Space Marines first, and we're going to work our way down. Another thing I want to mention is that on the side, you also always want to click the in-stock option. That way you're not going to get, tricked into seeing models that are not in stock, that are sold out. All right, so let's begin. What I'm seeing here is, well, I'm gonna not trick you guys. I can see the Grey Hunters down here already. I can see, oh, wait, oh my God, okay, hang on. There's a, what? Okay. So there is a Logan Grimnar on Storm Rider. Okay, so this is the mounted version of Logan. That is awesome. So I didn't think, okay. We're gonna go back. All right, so I was hoping this would be a little bit longer of a video, but we're gonna throw Logan in there. Okay, so Logan Grimnar, what is he? Because we are gonna get Logan for sure because we need a Logan Grimnar in this because he's a chapter master. He's the Wolf Lord of the Space Wolves. He's their leader. So honestly, getting him would be great because when it comes to Combat Patrol, oh wait, hang on. Well, okay, you know what? Give me a second. I'm gonna let me cook first, okay? So normally for Combat Patrol, what we want is an HQ, typically as generic as possible, the better. That way the Combat Patrol gets benefits from being purchased multiple times. Whereas if you have an epic or a named character in your Combat Patrol, it instantly loses rebuying. It instantly loses value and becomes not worth rebuying just because the epic hero is in there, unless you sell it to get some extra stuff. So you always want an HQ, you always want infantry, and you always want some sort of centerpiece model. Now, if a character is, for example, an epic hero, they can actually be quantified as both a character, an HQ model, and in some cases a centerpiece model. Now, I would consider Logan Grimnar, especially on his storm with his Santa sleigh. It's a Santa sleigh, okay? Let's not beat around the bush. Logan Grimnar on the Santa sleigh is definitely a centerpiece model, and it's definitely an epic hero. Now, like I said, where that does contradict what I was saying, where you always want at least one HQ, one infantry, and one centerpiece. If you are buying it used, this goes out the window. Like, unless you are buying it generically from GW, these basically the limitation of the one HQ, the one infantry, and one centerpiece model limitation is something GW kind of has to. These are basically standards everyone looks to when they look at combat patrols. They look at these three things. If it has all three of those things, the box instantly becomes worth buying. If it's missing one of those things, the box isn't worth buying, at least in my opinion. The less of those things it has, the less valuable the box becomes in general. But for us, we have the opposite issue, where if we can actually find a character that is both an HQ and a centerpiece model, that's a win. We want to actually try and get models or get purchases that are a combination of all three at once. Now, I don't know the exact model, the points on Logan Grimnar, so give me a second, and I might just cut back to this, and we'll see what we're doing. So after taking a quick look at Logan Grimnar's stats and his abilities, I found that he is actually a 185 point model, with one of his main abilities being the High Wolf of Fenris, or the High Lord of Fenris. And what this rule does is it actually allows him to allow all units in his army to actually reroll charge rolls, which is fantastic because, like I said before at the start, the Space Wolves are a highly aggressive, very melee centric army. So Logan Grimnar giving the rest of the forces in your faction that ability is great. Additionally, however, because Logan Grimnar is a 185 point army, that's already almost 2/5 of our points covered. So just by adding him to our cart, we have already solidified ourselves a good portion of freedom when it comes to buying other models. Now, the Grey Hunters are also a very useful unit for this army because they have chainswords. The thing I liked about the Grey Hunters, at least personally, is the fact that they have basically the full range of a tactical squad, but they also have the chain weapons of an assault squad. They're all honestly, I think they're really great. I can't remember if their main ability though is OPSEC. I can't remember if that's what it is. But even then, even still, even if their ability is mediocre, the fact that they have a melee option makes them a great choice to combine with Logan Grimnar. Especially given the fact that Logan Grimnar on his Santa Sleigh can't lead anyone except Thunderwolves. Now, if we find Thunderwolves on the first or second page, then I'll immediately throw this in the list, and that can actually help us along the way. But because we're not going to have that, Logan Grimnar is basically going to be an independent character, and so we don't have to worry about having any units synergize with his leadership abilities. Now then, on top of the Grey Hunters, we also have the Long Fangs right beside them, which is a really fun addition. The Long Fangs are some of my favorite units, at least in lore, because it's the idea of reversing the codex system. If you guys don't know, traditionally in codex compliant chapters, heavy weapon squads like what the Long Fangs are usually reserved for only the Scout companies and the Ninth Company. The reason why is because these are typically inexperienced Marines who need to be sheltered at the back, providing cover fire for their more experienced comrades. The Space Wolves reverse it and make it so that it is their most experienced and veteran warriors, often the lone wolves, who are joined together to form these long fang groups. And they're almost some of the most powerful weapons, and their job isn't to provide long range support from the back, but actually to be in the fight, in the heart of the enemy, and just destroying everything. Now, the problem is though is that because they are a traditionally ranged army, or not ranged army, I'm sorry, a ranged unit, they will not be able to pair very well with our Great Wolf on Santa Sleigh, Logan Grimnar. So I'm not sure if I want to put the Long Fangs in just yet. That being said, though, I know that together their points are probably going to get pretty close to the 500 point mark. So what we're going to do is we're going to shelve these three options. We're going to shelve, well, I guess four options technically, because I just realized there's a six-man squad there. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Because when I see a six-man, because this is something I also like that Fenris Workshop does, they'll just give you like, because over here we have the Grey Hunters times 4, Grey Hunters times 5, and times 5. Sometimes you'll just get that extra model. And for some people, that's really annoying. Like, they don't want the extra model. Like, I already have a sergeant, I don't need a sixth guy. But where people tend to forget is the fact that that sixth guy could easily be kit bashed to become a lieutenant, even. Like, it's not impossible for you to, say, take a standard Marine, like, examine and be like, okay, well, this guy could easily be kit bashed as something other because its weapons do fit with the stat sheet of that model. Like, the amount of sergeants that I've just kit bashed and proxied as lieutenants, or sorry, reverse that, the amount of lieutenants that are actually just sergeants that I've proxied in is crazy. I'm gonna be honest, it's basically every single one of my lieutenants is just a sergeant that has been a little bit more upgraded. All right. Next, ooh, wait, a captain with jump pack. And okay, hang on. So there's a captain with jump pack, and it looks like he actually has a Fenrisian shield. I'm assuming this guy has 3D bits put on him. You know what that is? That is 3 bits. I don't know what I'm saying. But there's a problem though, is that we don't have, at least not yet. We'll see when we get lower down, because I'm only going to go pages 1 and 2 because those are the most recent stuff. So I'm going to only go to those pages. And if we can find any, like, say, jump pack units, then sure, we'll actually throw these guys in, and we might even consider adding the captain with jump pack in. Just for the very sake of the matter that he has a Fenrisian shield, because I can see the wolf on it, and he has an axe. And hang on, let me take a closer look, just so I'm like not. Yeah, okay. I knew I know exactly what this is. I know I've seen this online before. I've seen this on Etsy. So this is what I thought it was. So yes, I think that if we had some assault intercessors on jump pack, we could actually make this work. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any yet. Ooh, but there is lieutenant. Ooh, a lieutenant that has a wolf pelt. Okay. Okay, I see what you're putting down. I see what you're putting down. All right, so I think the lieutenant can lead the Grey Hunters pack. I think so. And if that's the case, then we might be able to do something pretty interesting here. Because if the lieutenant can lead the Grey Hunters, we can throw these guys together and actually have a really cool combo. There is an Infernus squad over here too, but the Infernus squad lacks melee, so they aren't as good of an option for our Space Wolves. However, oh, there's a lieutenant with a power sword over here as well. But I'm not the biggest fan of him specifically because of the fact that this guy has a wolf pelt. So even though these guys might be the same in every way, just the fact that he has a wolf pelt and is more thematic for the space wolf is a bet is makes him more appealing in my eyes. We also have some Grey Knight Terminators over here, which we could, if you're crazy, you could probably try to put those in your Space Wolves army, but you might have a Months of Shame issue going on. Monster Shame episode potentially coming if you guys want that. Ooh, okay. That's a lot of tanks. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's a mortgage. That's a mortgage right there. Gotta pay a mortgage for this glaive. Oh man, but tempting, tempting. Oh, and assault intercessors. Okay, so there's a 5-man assault intercessor squad here and a Terminator squad. So we might be able to pair the assault intercessors because again, we want a melee unit specifically because of Logan Grimnar's ability. So if we want someone that Logan Grimnar can buff. So if we take these assault intercessors and we combine them with the lieutenant we had, which if I remember correctly, lieutenants have tactical precision, which does nothing, I think. I think those are just ranged abilities. Okay, so we're gonna scrap that idea, ignore what I said, throw that to the side. Um, Oh wait, hang on. There's a rune priest down here. That's an older model though. Its base looks kind of small. Oh, and there's some Terminators, not Terminators. There's a Librarian Terminator, a Terminator squad here, and a Blood Claws. 17 of them. Okay, okay. Okay. So Okay, so for those wondering, we only have whoopsies, I'm gonna go back. For those who are aware, we only have a Logan Grimnar in our cart. So we're gonna need to add some stuff to this. We're gonna have to make stuff work. So we don't want this, we don't want any of these for now. We're probably gonna throw some Blood Claws in, depending on what their points are. I think I would also Librarian Captain. I don't think Space Wolves can take Librarians. They take something else. I will probably put a Rune Priest. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. Okay, ooh, but the Terminator's too low. Okay, so Logan Grimnar is okay. Okay, you know what? Let's do it. I got an idea. All right, we'll throw the Assault Intercessors in there. Okay, and then we'll throw because okay, for those who don't know, I'm looking at the Tartarus Terminators, and like I was saying before with the Long Claws, this is a squad of 8. Now, again, for some people, that's a bad idea. I don't want 8 models. Why I don't want 8 models? This is just a squad of 8. This is just a squad of 5 or 10. Well, like I said before, it is possible to convert or kit bash your 3 extra models into leader units. So you could potentially have a Wolf Lord. I think that's what their captains are called. A Wolf Lord in Tartaros Terminator armor, basically. And all you'd really have to do is get some extra bonuses onto there to give it, some wolfy theme, some space wolf esque markers on there. Now, if we look at our card, I just want to double check our card fast. We're at $66, so we have a lot to work with, given the fact that combat patrols are like $200. So realistically, I could probably throw this squad of Tartarus pattern Terminators in there. Now, that plus that is not bad. Now we're gonna go back to page 1. Ooh, but I don't know. Does this seem Space Wolfy enough for you guys? You know what? I will throw in if I throw in a lieutenant with the Space Wolf stuff, that gives us $135. And just to be sure, I'll get back to you guys in 1 second to discuss the points value. All right, I'm back after doing some quick point calculations for the army we built so far. So looking at this homemade combat patrol we designed, which consists of a Tartarus Parent Terminator, a Space Marine Lieutenant, Assault Intercessors, 5 of them, and one Logan Grimnar on his Santa sleigh, we're actually looking at around 505 points. And not just that, we're actually only paying $135 with some change to spare, but we're honestly getting free shipping, so the tax and everything else is like negligible, which is honestly crazy because we're actually already. This is honestly like half the price of a combat patrol, which is ridiculous. Just by using used models, we already have this. Now, before anyone asks, well, what about the HQ? What about the infantry? And what about the centerpiece model? So here are some counterpoints. For when it comes to those three topics, those are things GW themselves have to incorporate into combat patrols. Again, an HQ should be as generic as possible, so that the box itself can be as rewarding as possible to purchase again and again and again. And for those of you who say that GW shouldn't be tailoring combat patrols be bought again and again and again, if you do make an excellent point that yeah, that's not the intended goal, but from a marketing perspective, they want to be able to sell these boxes as often as possible, as much as possible. And while yes, they should probably want to sell more of their better units, more of their more expensive price points, these combat patrols do have they basically pay for themselves in the long run. And if you can get say one person to buy two or even three copies of the same combat patrol, not only are those armies getting additional how do we put this, more investment because people are buying more of those models for that army, but you're also being able to make more money as a company yourself, which is always a great thing for GW. Now, that being said, though, for us, we actually want to have a counterpoint. So for GW needing to include all three, we actually want to try and combine them into one as much as possible. So if we can get an HQ that can also be a centerpiece model, that is phenomenal. So with Logan Grimnar as our acting as both our HQ and our centerpiece model, that's great. Now, all we need to really focus on is getting the infantry models and getting to that points limit, which you're able to quickly reach thanks to the Tartaros Terminators, because if you don't know, Terminators are insanely overpriced in terms of points. So I think them plus Grimnar was like almost 400 points. Like really, all we needed was like a lieutenant and something else, and we would like a lieutenant, and we could have gotten to 500 no problem. But because we're able to actually get those intercessors as well as the lieutenant and everything else, we're able to make an incredibly powerful and really awesome army. Additionally, the other reason why I wanted to get the Taurus Parent Terminators so much, like why I think they'd be such a great option. I was thinking the Blood Claws could work, especially in my head, or not the Blood Claws, sorry, the Grey Hunters. They're very similar. They're both fucking Space Wolf infantry. But in my mind, I was thinking, you know what, the Grey Hunters could work because they have the ranged option, but Logan Grimnar specifically wants to push for it. Although I guess I could have had the Blood Claws. The Blood Claws could have paired with the Lieutenant. I think about it, and his main ability is Technical Precision, which is a ranged ability. You know what? I might have to reconsider my list for a second. I don't think so. You know what? No, because you know what? I feel like it wouldn't make it because the Tardos patterns are 185. And then the Blood Claws, there's 5 of them, so you need two fives. And they're like standard infantry, which I think is like 80, 70 or 80 points. So like even if I did two squads of 5, that would only get us like 140 points, maybe 150. And that is far below what we would get for the Tartarus pattern. So like realistically speaking, if we wanted a really space wolfy list, the Long Claws and the Grey Hunters would probably be a better option, but I feel like they wouldn't be as many. I mean, the Long Claws are pretty overpriced. I know the Long Claws are overpriced because I wanted to build a space. I wanted to include them in my personal homebrew army, and I remember them being like 150 points. They were expensive, like they're heavy weapon squads, but I mean that it was different. I mean, I could no, no. We're not going to do this. We're not going to go down a rabbit hole of deciding what we're going to be buying. I think that this list already is really good. The only thing, you know what? I will add one thing. There is one thing I'm going to add to this list. What I am going to add is going to be something very minor, something very small. It is going to be a Space Wolf upgrade sprue. If you guys don't know what an upgrade sprue is or are unfamiliar with the concept of the upgrade sprues, they are. Ooh, wait, there's Grey Hunters painted over here. Ooh, hang on, this changes everything. Oh no, I might have to rebuild my whole list. This might have just added an extra 10 minutes to this video. Hmm. You know what? I got an idea. But there's 17 of them here. Hang on. The blood claws can be into groups of 20, can't they? Okay, and so you know what? Let me take a look at this. If I get rid of there's 19 of them. I will get rid of my assault intercessors. I'll get rid of the assault intercessors. And then if I throw in a 10 pack, which one do I want? This one's cheaper. Hmm. I feel like I want cheaper one. No, you know what? I will take this one. I will take this one. There. Now we have 10. We have 10 units. The Grey Hunters, which can be led by the Lieutenant, which gives a more Space Wolfy themed list. And you know what? If you guys want to be really crazy, because can't they come into groups of 20? They can come into groups of 20, can't they? So realistically, if I really wanted to, we could really spam the board on your opponent because Grey Hunters are how much? You know what? I'll get back to you and I'll readjust these point conversions and we'll see where we go from here. And I'm back. And I just found out some pretty crazy information from doing some quick calculations. This new setup that I have, well, the price is $175. So, about the center price of a combat patrol, which is, all right, that's a combat patrol's price. But when I started to put all the price points and all the points themselves together, and putting those specifically into Battlescribe, I found out that I was actually able to get this list up to 770 points. Yes, that is correct. This thing is well over the price of a combat patrol, almost 1.5 times the price of a combat patrol for the price of a combat patrol. Now, I decided to save this moment for everyone else because I also wanted to enjoy this moment with you guys. So we're going to do the points per dollar value of this thing. So we're going to do 770 points divided by $175. That gives us a points per dollar value of 4.4 points per dollar. So every dollar you spend on this list, you're getting at the very least 4.4 points back, which is ridiculous. This is an insane list, and I love that I was able to do this. And look at this. This is 20, 25, 26, 27 plus the wolves, 28, 29. That is 29 models and then 3 extra Terminators to be made into Terminator Lords, or Terminator Wolf Lords, I should say. This is ridiculous. This is fantastic. This is awesome. And if you guys want to try it, then I suggest you buy these models quick because there's a good chance that if this video blows up, a lot of people are going to be buying those. And you know what? I'm going to be keeping this stuff in my cart, and I want to see what gets bought from when this video gets dropped, when this video gets released. So you know what? Why don't you guys try to because I'll be watching. I'll be seeing these things. If these things get taken off, I'm going to be a little pissed off because this is an awesome setup to buy. This is an awesome amount of points to pay. This is crazy. This is awesome. But I'd be super hyped for everyone who gets whatever they want from this list. And if you guys wanted to start your own Space Wolf army, this is exactly where to start. This is awesome. This is an awesome setup. I love what I did for it. I'm super hyped that I did this. This is awesome. I makes me want to do more for other armies. If you guys have any armies you guys want me to try, or if you guys want me to if you guys want to have me repeat this every single time a new codex comes out in relation to it, I will do that. That sounds awesome. That's I'm getting hyped thinking about it. But yeah, this is me. I'm going to be signing off. And if you guys want to support me, follow me on Patreon, link in the description, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Make sure YouTube Machine Spirit sees our efforts and our growing community. Bye.